I know Sibs. Where were you born?
Vandalia,
You mind telling me when?
1933, March 20th.
Gosh, well, that's right. Barb Kimmel said she's up here on your birthday.
Right.
She just felt like God sent her.
Yeah, that's what she said.
That's
Doesn't
great.
seem like it's been that long ago, but I guess it has.
Gosh, I'm 10 years older than you are.
Oh my heavens.
I was born 23. Okay.
Yeah.
And you've lived in Vandalia all your life?
All my life. Mother did too, and well, Dad did too, for that matter.
Yeah. So you've seen a lot of things come and go.
Oh, there were 300 and I think they said 85 people in Vandalia when I was born.
Okay.
Don't ask me to name them because I can't.
Well, what's the matter? Is your memory going?
Yeah.
Well, no, that's been a long time ago.
That's been a long time
Phil,
ago.
Phil has done a lot of history on
Has he?
Vandalia,
Oh.
on the Wilhelms and the
Oh,
people
yeah.
that founded
Now,
it.
did you know Orville Blue by any chance? Now, he
No.
was an elderly man that when I was a little kid, I guess everybody was kind of half afraid of him, the kids, because he walked every place he went, and he worked at the gun club for a while, and he had walked all over the United States.
Yeah.
And I can't think where he's buried now.
Huh,
He was
Orville
up-
Blue.
Orville
Maybe
Blue.
we ought to look him up. Blue, like the color?
Right. And I wish I could read. He was born in 1896, I think he told me. And oh gosh, I can't think where. But if he were living, he could give you all these. He could go into all the details of the places. And when Mary Hoodinger had her the alkaline spring stuff there, he knew all about that. And he whistled every place as he was walking. He was always whistling. A very happy little guy. And he'd been I'm not sure whether he had been a jockey at part-time, but he was a little guy, real little guy. And just as interesting as he could be. And then the years that the Dad and I worked at the gun club, and he worked as the custodian there up in the locker room. This was long before they moved the lockers out at the top of the clubhouse. And he was in there helping out. Oh, that was fun. Because we always kept shooters from Texas. And I imagine those folks are all gone now.
Yeah.
And they came on the train. They didn't fly. And I moved out of my bedroom when the shooters came, and they took my bedroom. And the couple from Texas always had Mother and Dad's bedroom. And then right after the Second World War was over, Dad said, "Now I hear that this year they're going to have a huge big crowd at the gun club for the shoot." Because after the war, why people were getting settled back down. So he said, "I can't do both jobs. Do you think you could?" I was like junior high, I guess, that year. I'll listen to him over there. They're singing. I don't know which one that is. But anyway, he said, "Do you think you could do the lockers?" And I'd come back and forth and check with you as the day went on then. And I said, "I don't know, but I'll try." And then they added about 50 lockers then the next year, and the crowd did get bigger. Roy Rogers used to come and put on, I guess I had told you that, and put on special shooting events after but finally the crowd got so big they had to do lights at night and let them finish the shoot-offs after dark.
Well, it's getting about the same thing again.
Now, that's what I'm...
I worked up there last 2 years just kind of as a hostess in the museum.
Oh, you did? Oh. Kenneth Avenue, back in Uncle Bud's woods. Now, Uncle Bud was Bud Sunderland.
Okay, you're related to the Sunderlands.
Dad's middle name was Sunderland. And I can't think how... my great-grandmother was a Sunderland by marriage. Well, she was my great-grandmother by marriage, and her name was Sunderland, Della Sunderland. And she married J.K. Booher. John Kent, I think, was his name. Gosh, that's been a long time since
Now-
I've thought of them.
What relation was this to John Sunderland?
Oh,
Della, what, do you know? Any chance?
not right offhand, and I can't tell you now. Do you know Doris Bentz?
No.
Bentz. Now,
No.
she's the only one of Dad's sisters. All his other sister and brother are both deceased. And I don't know whether Aunt Doris could tell you that or not, but she was at Cardinal Village Nursing Home, and I'm not sure whether she's at Bethany now.
Oh, uh-huh.
But anyway, she might be able to tell you more about how the Sunderlands were related. But I know that Bud Sunderland was an uncle of Dad's. And great-grandmother Booher was a Sunderland, so.
Well, did your father and his brother farm up there on the Castle Road?
No.
Was that another family?
Now wait a minute. I'm trying to think of who you might be thinking about. But there weren't any Boers up there, were there, on the Castle Road?
That first big brick house back off the road and the big white barn north of it?
Now wasn't that I think
Somebody said
that was a Boer back in there? Now if it is.
I'm sorry.
No.
Yeah, you're
all
right.
Now I can't think of who lived
you
there.
thinking
One of
about?
the-
Borchers.
Borchers.
Oh,
Okay.
Borchers.
All right.
Was the one of
Now,
them funny in the insurance
Gene
business?
Paul Borchers
Yeah.
was in my class. He was in my graduating class.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
so
we-
we used to go to church with them.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
Yeah, he
Mary Jean and Paul? Paul
Well,
was on the board,
This
the
was
school
afterwards, he
board.
got married.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
Paul was on the school board for a long time.
Where is he now, do you know?
I have no idea.
I think he's south
I
somewhere.
thought he was in Cincinnati, but I may be
I have
wrong.
no
No,
idea. I haven't seen him for
she is.
ages.
Oh, she
His
is.
wife, but,
I gotta get my foot down here a minute. Okay.
do you need to get him up
No,
some way?
I've got a
You want
thing
me
here.
to
All
put-
I gotta do is flip this out of the,
What do you want to,
wait a minute.
You want to put it, you have to raise them? You want to raise them?
No, I got it. I
You
got
need
it.
help?
No, just a sec. There, I got it. Okay, I got the thing down.
Okay.
That's much better. That's like getting your tight clothes off after a hard day's work.
Taking your girdle off?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. And I
Now,
thought, no.
you just got out of the hospital. Did you have any surgery or anything?
One year down at school, they told us, they said, now we've got a boy coming from up at CF Holiday, which was one of our elementaries, and he's had a brain tumor operation. And I thought, oh my golly, that's the only thing I need is a kid with a brain tumor operation. Never thinking I'd ever have the same thing myself.
Oh, really?
And so when the school year came around, the next school year, he was on my list for an afternoon English class. He calls me every single week that he and his mother are home. They're from up in Wisconsin, and I think they're up there now visiting they had a wedding to go to, I think he said. So anyway, I had Bob on Robert Buckley, and he prefers Robert over Bob. And he's got a twin sister in north part of Baltimore, and I can't think now where his other sister is. So anyway, he was on crutches at that. He's way over 6 feet tall now and broad-shouldered. You'd swear he'd been a football player. Oh, listen at him. And so anyway, he came in and he was on crutches, and they said now he'll leave class a little bit early to get to another class if it's like that on another floor. And he probably will be a couple minutes late, but that's okay. And so I had him. We got along just fine, and he has now his brain tumor affected his eyesight to some extent. Now it didn't mine. In fact, I had worn glasses for quite a while after I started to teach for grading papers and reading and all that, and I don't need glasses anymore. So I don't know what that did to mine up here, but I don't need the glasses now, which is
Well, that's
good.
great.
Yeah.
Good.
So,
So you had a brain tumor?
yes, now if you look close,
Oh, I
you can
see it
You
now.
can see a dent
I was
there.
going to say, you had surgery?
I've got a head like a bowling ball. I got a dent here, and then there's two more. There's one
I didn't even
there,
notice that till you told me.
and one there, and
Did-
one there.
Did they have to shave your head?
Oh, yes,
Your hair
yes.
was coming back in.
Right,
okay.
yes, oh, yeah. Now I've got two, there's the two dents there, and there's this one. So there's
Yeah.
my three dents. That's why I said I'm like a bowling ball.
Well, did they think they got it all?
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
Great.
And it was about the size, I think they said, of a small English walnut or something. And so I had and it took a while for the hair to grow out, but it's all back
Oh, yeah,
now.
it looks like it's coming in good.
And so that worked out real well. But I was getting out of bed one morning, and I don't know whether you know Ron and Elsie Fleener from or not.
That name's familiar,
Yeah, I heard
Fleener.
the
Well, now
name.
they are my neighbors now.
Ron?
Ron and Elsie Fleener. They're just real nice folks. They're from Virginia, and they had come up here, and they were living up on the north end of Brown School Road, back in the little frame houses up there. And Ron worked up at the church, and we got to be acquainted up there. I used to go up and the women would sew on, I think they made lap robes for the ladies down at Otterbein Home.
Yeah.
And my mother used to go up and sew with them till she died. And and I knew a lot of them. Did you know Welcome Smith by any chance? Okay,
yeah.
and she was a good friend of ours.
Yeah.
And Welcome belonged to the sewing group.
Yeah.
And Margaret and Ellen Shear.
Yeah.
And Charlotte Sprecher. And Isabel Cotterman.
Yeah, they're all gone.
And they're all gone.
Oh, yeah.
And May Orcutt. And Bev Skaggs. Now, I don't know whether... Bev's much younger. She's younger than I am by a long way.
I know her.
But she would go up and get the material out and get everything all set up for them. Mary Denman and her sister, now, they live over on the east side of Old National, back in those brick houses, before you get down to the bend that goes over the dam.
Is that Denman?
Mary Denman and...
Oh, man. Denman.
On where now?
On the east side of 40,
Yeah.
Brown School Road.
Before you get to the bend that
Okay,
goes...
across from Kroger's on in there?
No, this
Going
is...
south. on-
Right.
Oh,
yeah.
okay,
Brown School.
okay.
Oh, Mary Denman and...
Well,
I can't think of her sister's name, but it was such a nice sewing group. And they said, well, do you sew when you go up? I said, no, I just help them talk. But they were such a nice group of ladies, and then I had fun because I'd take them stuff.
yeah.
There's a real nice handicraft shop out on I think it's Phillipsburg Road,
Oh, yeah,
the countryside.
yeah, yeah.
And I like to go out there and get stuff, and
Yeah.
they always kept saying, I wonder what she'll bring us this time.
Oh, well, that's
But
great.
it was always so much fun to do that, and I suppose that's still in business out
Yes, it
there.
is.
Is it?
Was, I've been up there for a while, but
was
yeah, it
last
is. And that
year.
gal up there is so nice.
They were and they had the nicest little wicker baskets at Easter time, and I'd get green Easter grass, and then put jelly beans or whatever in it, and then at Christmas they had little velvet poinsettias and all that kind of stuff, and little candy canes made out of pipe cleaner,
Yeah.
red and white pipe cleaners, and so I had fun doing that, and I guess I did sew a couple times. Then once the church made a quilt, and they wanted people to make sign up to make a square. Now,
Yeah.
I don't know what they did with whether
Yeah.
somebody bought it or whether
They-
it's still at the
they,
church.
Bicentennial, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, somebody won that, and then I think since Nancy Wherry has kind of
Made
duplicated
another.
it. And she
Oh.
brought that down to the Historical Society one night, and I don't
Ow.
know where that is right now.
Well, I made one square. They said if you would make a square for it, so I did the front of our old house that was uptown, where you were talking about the pizza place being now. When I was born, we didn't have a front porch on it except made out of just a picket rail around a square slab. And then I don't know whether you knew my grandfather, Lytton Rader.
Yeah,
He was clerk of the village for quite a few
Yeah,
years.
well, we've
and
probably
so
got his
they
name
tore
somewhere.
they tore the front porch off, and he had a concrete slab poured that I think we had about 4 or 5 steps up from the west end rather than from the north side, and then we put a red brick railing around it. So I embroidered on this one square that they wanted me to do for this quilt, the way the house looked before they put the new porch on. And that was fun. I enjoyed that. And we had a big honeysuckle vine at the west end of the porch. And, oh golly, that thing smelled great every, whatever,
yeah,
spring or
summer,
whenever it did the blooming part of the thing. And then there was a great big house beside us where Nell and Harry Randall lived. Now, I don't know if you remember them.
Randall?
Probably not. And
I don't. See, we
Nell-
didn't come to Vandalia till in the 50s.
Yeah.
Oh, well, then you wouldn't have known them because
but
they were long gone
Phil
before
might have run
then.
across their name somewhere.
Yeah.
And let's see, Nell had 2 or 3 sisters, and Ethel Arnold lived there with them. They had a big house, and it was big enough they took in 2 or 3 roomers, that people that worked up at the airport. And Elsie Putnam and Ethel Arnold, and Nell Randall and Harry Randall. But they were real good neighbors. And I don't think they kept any shooters, but they did keep people that worked up at the airport different times.
How about, was the Eagle House Hotel still standing?
No, now that I've got old pictures of that. They're on the corner. All right, I know where you mean, but it wasn't. Not that I remember, no.
Okay, well, that's what I wondered.
That's, no.
That gives me
And
an
they
idea.
built VE the year I had been in the 5th grade.
I was going to say, where'd you go to school?
All the time at Butler.
But I mean in grade school.
I started out at what's now Morton. I started
You went to
first
school
grade.
there at Morton
I
Junior
went
High.
I went 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, halfway through 5th. VE was done. I had Ellen Shear in 5th grade, and we moved down to VE about right after the Christmas break was over. Colder than heck. And
So they didn't have a junior high then, did they?
No,
You just went from-
everything was all out at Morton Junior High. or out
And
at-
then you went to the high school.
1 through 12 was out there.
Oh, okay.
And Mr. Odell taught shop and did you know Charlie Odell?
I know who he is, but he
Well, now
wouldn't know us.
he lived just
Is he still living?
he died just recently.
Yeah, I
Just
just-
recently,
I
yeah.
said, somebody mentioned that he lived close to you, and I said, now, didn't he just die? We couldn't
Yeah, just
remember.
within the last
Yeah, yeah.
this past couple, maybe 3 or
Yeah.
4 months
I've
or
been
something.
cutting out all the obituaries and
And I still do that.
Do you?
And I think, and Mother used to be the financial secretary at church, and Charlie Orcutt, I don't know if you know that name or not, he was the financial head of the finance
church.
stuff there at the church, and he's died within the last year.
oh, yeah, I
Now
think I
his-
remember seeing that name.
His wife, May, is still and I don't know whether she's at Bethany now, but those people are all gone. This is something, I can't get used to this now because I keep thinking, well, I'd like to tell this one. Then one day, a man stopped at the house, this has been like, oh gosh, 20 years or more ago, and he was a minister who worked out in the West somewhere. And he said, I've just come from a lady down in Kettering on Willow Grove Avenue, which was about 2 blocks from the Carillon Tower. And he said her husband died several years ago, and she's got some brothers and sisters. She's got some sisters, but they're out of state. One of them lived down in Miamisburg. And he said, I wondered if you would like to stop and see her some night on the way home, because he knew I came up to Dixie. It was before the interstate got done. And I said, oh, I don't know. I said, does she, well, he said she would like company, I think. So I called her one night during Christmas break, and we had a real nice visit over the telephone, and I said, now, if I stop some night after school, would it be okay? Oh, she said, that'd be fine. So I said, I'll stop at Woody's, and I'll get what we can use for supper, and we'll just eat together. So I don't know how many hours we spent around her dining room table when I'd be coming home from school, and I'd stop at Woody's or get that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And, oh my God, and she just died within the last year and a half or so. And she finally moved down into Miamisburg. She helped to take care of her one sister that lived down there, and that lady died. Now, where the brother-in-law is, I don't know, but Dorothy moved down there, and she bought a house on 7th Street, I think it was, but it was a much sturdier house than the one on Willow Grove was a frame house. Now, there was nothing wrong with it, really, except she was having some heating problems. But the one there on 7th Street or whatever that was in Miamisburg was a very nice warm house, brick house. And so anyway, and I miss talking to her because I see things in the paper and I think, now Dorothy would be interested in this, and I can't call Dorothy anymore.
Do you remember the streetcar coming to Vandalia?
To Vandalia? Now, I'm not too sure there weren't some traction cars out in the middle of what's National now when I was a kid.
Yeah?
Now
On National? I thought they were up and down Dixie.
All right, there were some on Dixie. Now, I don't know about National now that you mention it.
Yeah.
And when I was born, the airport was very tiny. It was up on North Dixie at the time, just a small building.
Is that,
Nothing like what they have now.
Johnson's Flying?
Yes, yeah.
That was kind of the way it was still there when we came to
Well, then you
Vandalia.
remember what
Yeah.
So, and
Did you know Esther Cheney?
oh, I had her in school. She was one of my English teachers.
Oh, everybody had Esther. Well,
Oh.
we were friends, you know,
Well,
from
she
church
was a
and
real
everything.
nice, now she's gone, isn't she?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Now,
Yeah, Esther, she lived to be about 93.
That's
She and
what I was-
Wilhelmina both.
Yes,
Wilhelmina Bressman
yes.
and Frances.
well,
they're all gone.
Wilhelmina helped Mother the day I was born.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, she was
Now,
a nurse.
That's what I was going to say. I think she was a nurse.
Her and
Now, I
Frances.
don't remember that, but that's what they tell me
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
you have a pretty good memory if you
Yeah,
remember
if I
that.
remembered that.
Well, let's
So-
see, what else do we
Well,
need to know about
I'm trying to
Vandalia?
think. I'm trying,
Well, you've always taught, so that's what you
That's
did,
what I did.
and you never married.
No,
Did you have any boyfriends?
not to speak of.
Oh,
This close friends, this
you
close
sound
friends.
like Mary Hootinger. When we'd talk to her about her
Yeah.
boyfriend, she'd say, well, I'd tell my brothers, and they'd get on them.
Oh.
Yeah,
We used to kid her about
I had a
that.
close friend up in Chicago. I got this letter from Chicago one day. That's been a long time ago. And it was a man who was down at Miami when I was down there. And he said, if you'd like to write, he said, I'll give you my address. So I was up to see, and his mother was still living, and she was up in her early 80s, I think. So one summer, he said, well, how would you like to come up and just stay a couple days and visit? So I said, well, that'd be fine with me. And he said, we'll go over to, I think they call it the Dunes. It's on the east edge of Lake.
Oh, up in Indiana.
Yeah, right. They used to go up there and spend the summer.
We're
State
from
Park.
Indiana.
All right, then you know where I'm talking about. And then we went, then you know about Battleground, I suppose.
Battleground.
Battleground, Indiana? That's an Indian, there's a couple of Indian museums there and a cemetery
No.
with, it's a soldier's burying place. And so I picked Jim up, and now his mother didn't go with us, but he said, I want you to see Battleground. And then right north of Battleground was a place called Wolf Park. And they have real wolves up there, and they raised wolf pups. And there were 2 or 3 young ladies worked in there. I can't remember the man's name that ran the place, but it's pretty up through there. I know where you're talking about.
Yeah.
And this museum there at Battleground, we went in there and we saw a whole lot of Indian relics and arrowheads and such. And we stayed in a motel right there in Battleground, and went up along the dunes and went back in through the park, and I helped sponsor a wolf, and of course that helped pay for their dog food and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I got Kesho, I think was the wolf name that I helped sponsor, and I renewed my membership several times up there. In fact, I think we were over in there at least 2 or 3 different summers, but it was such a pretty area.
Yeah.
And
Do you remember any of your other teachers besides Esther?
well, let's see, in the first grade I had Fay Rule, if you remember Fay Rule's name, and then I had Mrs. Now Keplinger maybe was one, and then I had a man from down in Hazard, Kentucky, a Mr. Casebold, but now that I don't imagine and he was the one that started the airlog, the school.
Oh, really?
The annual,
school?
yeah.
Well, that's interesting.
And that was our class that he started that.
Okay, the airlog
And,
was started with your,
So that would have been the class of 51. So he would have started that about
51.
1950,
Well,
yes.
you probably haven't been able to go down into our schoolhouse basement and see the displays that Tim
No.
Garwood has.
No.
He's got some
Done a
wonderful
beautiful
stuff.
job.
If you could get down those steps.
Well, this is the thing now, I have to be so careful where I go.
Yeah, well,
And
they're not good steps to go down either, even if people's all right.
Well, yeah, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
You know, it's too bad that we
Well.
don't have that for,
Now, you're talking where, at Mary's house?
yeah.
Underneath,
Oh,
in
oh.
the basement
I
of the
don't think I
schoolhouse.
was ever, oh,
Yeah,
okay.
he's got a wonderful
Now, I don't
display
think I
of the
was ever
schools,
in
history of the
Mary's
s-
house that I recall, but I
Uh-huh.
remember going down there to get spring water occasionally.
Yeah, we still, people
And
still
these
do.
people-
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's still come.
So,
Yeah, and the house, we've redone the house and refurnished it. We just need to get it open and have some things
Yeah,
down
people
there, some old
going
things.
through it.
and
Sure.
Have a museum or something because people keep asking about it and it's surprising though, people in Vandalia don't even know that place is there.
you're kidding.
No.
They drive by it all the time.
Sometimes we've had people come down there, well, I never knew this was here.
Oh, my gosh.
I had a lady was down, we've been getting ready for a big garage sale. And we've been going
Oh.
through some stuff down there and getting rid of stuff and trying to keep nice stuff and sell the odds and ends.
Yeah.
And some lady called and she said she just went by there. Now, she was from Inglewood, but she says, I'd love to come down there sometime.
Oh,
And
heavens.
Go
Now,
through
you
the
know
buildings.
Irene Wright then, I
Oh,
suppose.
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Irene's
listen
not
to
in too good a shape, is she?
I don't think so. Now, the last I
She
saw
doesn't get
her
around too good.
was right at, I don't think she drives anymore. I
Well,
don't
no,
believe.
Wayne took her car away from her. She's had several accidents.
Had
Oh, I'll
several-
bet
And,
she feels like she's grounded then,
Yeah.
and I know how
I think
she
she finally
feels.
had to accept it,
Well.
that she couldn't drive anymore.
And
No, I
I'm
was
not
up,
supposed to drive either, and I don't, my car's been taken away from me,
Yeah.
so.
I was up to Dennis yesterday, I go to Wayne, and he's leaving tonight for Germany. He's taking Susie to Germany for her 60th birthday.
Whether she wants to go or not.
Well, I guess she does.
I'm just
He
being
didn't
dumb.
say she didn't want to.
Oh,
So,
heavens.
that's what they're doing
Oh,
for
my
her birthday.
gosh.
I was just
Well,
up there
now,
yesterday.
come to think of it, I think they kept some of the German people that came
Yes,
over here
uh-huh.
with the,
Yeah, and they've got
Sister
friends
City.
that they stay with
well,
over
that's
there.
what I was thinking, yeah.
And they're gonna take them around.
Well,
and-
good.
Yeah, let's
look
see,
at
oh golly,
I'm trying to think of,
what else do we need to know around here?
I think most of
I
my,
wish you had known Orville Blue, because he was such an
Well,
interesting
we'll have to
man.
try to inquire about Orville.
Yeah, I'm trying to think who you would ask that would know about him.
He was born in 1896. My
96.
God, he'd be over 100 years old if he was
Oh,
living.
if he was still
Wonder
living.
if, did he go to your church by any chance? Or did he go to church?
I don't think he went to church, but he every place he went, he
Wonder if
walked.
Orville Cotterman would remember.
Oh, yes. I'll
Okay.
bet- Oh, I bet
Okay,
he would.
Phil has interviewed and talked to
Yeah,
Orville.
I'm sure. Now, Orville remarried, didn't he?
Yes.
yes, it is.
Well, but I'm sure he would know. And Leland Sprecher might know.
Yeah, well, Phil talked to Leland.
Okay.
He's got a mind.
Doesn't he, though? Now, he
his
comes
mind
down
is
every
great.
once in a while when I'm home and visits. But he would remember Orville Blue.
Okay.
I'm trying to think who else would that's,
Martin, Orville,
um,
and Connie.
oh, goodness. The thing now is I've reached the age where a lot of people that would fit what we're talking about aren't here anymore.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, that's why we're up here talking
That's
to you.
frustrating before
Before you're
before
gone.
I get away.
Yeah,
Well, really, you know,
Well-
Phil's talked to, he's talked to Orville Cotterman and Leland Sprecher and, well, we, of course, know
Mabel Waymeyer.
Mabel
Oh,
Waymeyer.
yes, yeah.
And Edward Smith, but you
Ed
need to get
Smith.
back down there and see him. Did
Yeah.
you know him?
I know that
Red Smith.
that did the florist and the,
No.
Well,
No, then that's
Edgar Smith
Was
is
he
the
one of
son.
the-
that's the one,
is
that's the one
son
that
of
does the
Professor-
flowers, I think. Okay.
Professor Smith.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Different.
Now, there was a very elderly Prof. Smith when I was a little kid,
Well,
but
that's
that's,
who the-
must be a grandfather or something of.
Yeah, I
of-
think
that's-
maybe that's right. Maybe,
That's who
it-
the Smith School's named
Yeah,
after.
that's the one.
yeah, I think that Orville,
Yeah.
or
Red?
Red Smith
Yeah.
is a grandson of,
Yeah, that could easy
Okay,
be.
that was his
could easy
grandfather.
be.
because he's
Okay.
probably my age,
Well,
Oh, yeah, maybe.
70,
Maybe they're
77,
older. I don't know.
might be.
and they lived on the what was the north edge of town then, up where Skyview Drive. Right before you got to Skyview Drive, that was the north edge of town when I was a kid. And then what's Smith School now, that was on the west edge of town, and from there on was Gun Club. But it wasn't nearly as big a gun club grounds then as it is now, because it goes way on out to the
Well,
road.
now, wait a
into
minute.
Well,
the-
the access road
There was
down.
a high school out there.
Well, that was the old,
Oh, that was
that
at
was
the,
old Butler High School.
that
The
was
old
at the
Butler High
corner of
Peters.
Peters Pike that went on, well, that, of course, that's not there
Yeah,
anymore.
well, that's,
the
yeah,
airport.
that was gone before we ever came.
Yeah, and there used to be a family out there on North Peters, or was it North Dogleg, that ran a maple syrup camp, and I can't remember their name. And we'd go out there and buy gallons of maple syrup. Oh, I can't think of that family's name. I know you'd know the name. It wasn't Waymeyer.
On North Dog Lake.
Well, on North Dogland.
That's where they
It
cut
was one
that
of the
off.
two, and I know that when Dad would go hunting, excuse me, he would go out along there. Oh, what was that family's name that had that? They had a great big woods across
Beals?
the...
Where'd Beals
Wasn't
live?
Howard Beale.
Beals were close.
what
I
was
know
his
who you're
mom and
talking
dad's
about.
I
But
don't remember
they were
Howard.
close by there, and I know Dad
Woods.
went out past one day to get some maple syrup, and he was back in the woods, and he says, "You'll never guess what was back in the trees, a great big eagle." And it was I'm tempted to say a golden eagle. Would that be right? Okay. And he said he'd never seen one before, and then I collect stuff. I got interested in biology. Mr. Kenzig was the biology teacher out there at the high school when I had biology, and we had to have projects. Well, Wainwright had butterflies and moths as a hobby just on his own.
Is Wayne your age?
No, he's
Younger?
about 4 years younger, I think.
Okay. So you're 67, Susie
Yeah.
was 60. Yeah, I think he's 61 or 2.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And so I got interested in butterflies and moths, and Wayne and I laughed, and I laugh now because we each had a butterfly net. It made us look like a bunch of weirdos running around.
Run around
catching.
this thing.
Yeah. And I had read somewhere that if you took beer and put it in a pan with an equal amount of sugar and brought it to a boil and made a syrup out of it, and then smeared it on a tree trunk or a telephone pole, that would lure these night
Butterflies?
moths
Oh,
in, or
moths.
butterflies too, for that matter. And they get so looped they can't fly.
Oh,
And
she was attributed to the delinquent of butterflies.
there you go. And oh, listen, you'd be surprised. And we had grandmother and granddad. Now that was Litton Rader. I don't know if you know that, Litton and Bessie Rader. They
Is that
owned-
who the street's named after?
Yes,
Later?
yes. And he was my mother's father. And
This is a noisy place.
Yeah, it is.
oh, they're doing the carpet. They did.
Oh.
We had to leave our room back there yesterday because
Yeah.
they were cleaning all the rooms on that wing.
That's it.
And so anyway, we had, oh goodness sakes, north of town it stopped at Skyview. There wasn't much of anything
Right.
north of Sky. And the old building there that's I think a lodge up there now, the Mason Lodge, that was the movie theater in
Yeah,
town.
right.
Okay. And then, do you know Mary Ellen Syke?
Oh, gosh, yeah, I'd forgotten about her. Is she still down at?
Yes, I think so. I think so.
Otterbein.
Otterbein,
Otterbein.
all right. And she and her husband, I can't think
Yeah,
of
they
his,
had the store there,
they had the variety store
Yeah.
here north of town.
right?
And that was a big to have a store like
Oh,
that in
heavens, yes.
town at the time.
Yes.
Oh, listen to him. Oh, heavens. And I used to go in there all the time and buy stuff for school because they always carried such nice picture stuff that you could use on bulletin boards.
Uh-huh.
Well, and I think Andy was in the Lions Club too.
Probably.
Dad and Granddad were both Lions.
Yeah, Phil's in
And
the Lions Club.
Yeah,
Basil Theodorus Sr.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I never knew them, but I know who you are.
Well, he and Granddad went to some of the Lions conventions, different places. And, and Basil Jr. was in my class. And Jack Munson was in my class. I'm trying to think who else you might know of right offhand. And Susan Cool, and their house was about where the steakhouse is now. It's not called the steak,
What was the name of the
Rib
restaurant?
House.
Rib House.
But
That's,
yeah.
yeah.
There was a restaurant there on the south side of the street along between Dixie and going east somewhere. What was that?
I think maybe that was a steakhouse.
The
at one
steakhouse?
time. Yeah, I think
You
so.
act like you don't remember that. I
Before you get
remember.
down to Ranch View.
Yeah,
Okay, I think that, yeah.
probably right along in there where that
Yeah,
flower
yeah.
shop was.
And I think it's gone now. I
Oh,
believe
yeah,
it
it's
is.
been gone.
Long,
But I
quite a
can
long
remember
time.
coming
Yeah.
out there going to eat before we ever moved
Yeah,
that day. We
yeah.
lived in Dayton before we came to,
And somebody told me that they tore down Waldo Peppers. Did they?
no, not yet, it's
Not
closed,
yet.
but they're
It's
closed
closed.
down. I don't
They
know
Closed
what.
down, but the
Oh.
We
building's
just
still
wished a
there.
good restaurant had come in that town.
Yeah.
Something besides fast food.
Well, and we always liked going out there because they had such good steaks and stuff. So, well, I hope that, if they're going to tear it down, though, I guess they're not going to change their minds, probably.
Well,
So,
I don't know. I hadn't heard they were going to tear
No,
it
I
down,
hadn't
but
heard
it
that.
depends on probably who
Of course,
bought
for
it.
years, they kept saying they were going to move the ATA, too, but
Yes.
they never did, so.
They keep talking about
Well,
it.
they're
and
still
just,
They're still
about it.
talking about
last
it.
year when I was working
Yeah.
up there, they said,
Of course, they're out to the airport road now that goes back in there, so I don't know whether they're out of ground as far as.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think so. I think so.
But that was always fun.
But
They
see,
had,
they're talking about rerouting 40 and
Yeah, they're gonna
And
extend
the
that
airport, you know,
southwest runway.
all
And,
this airport
oh my
business.
gosh.
yeah,
Don't like it, but you
we're
know how it
fighting
is.
We're trying to fight it. The people
And then-
that's in, historic preservation, they
Yeah.
want to keep US 40 as it is. Because I guess really down underneath there somewhere, about Dog Leg Road,
Oh, yeah,
You were
there's
born in 33, so you come
What they
along
call
after
it.
the Depression.
barely.
The Depression.
rough,
Yeah, you just got in on the tail
Yeah,
end
tail
of it.
end of it.
what do you
Just
call
looking at
it?
some questions
When you
here.
take the trees on the side of the road and throw them in like that?
I know.
Corduroy Road?
Oh,
wood.
yeah, out of to make
Yeah,
what
to
you
make
drive
the-
on.
yeah, right.
They used to have a lot of those up in Canada where we used to go, and I haven't been back up there now for years.
Yeah, they claim there's a place out there.
You were
around
just a
Logan.
kid when they built that, what they called the project, where the post office
Yeah.
and everything is.
My granddad, Lytton Rader, owned a lot of the land down in there.
Uh-huh.
And they came in one year, and he said, I got the strangest letter today. He said they're taking all the land down in we all called it his office building down in there. That's where he did his work for the clerk of the village. And he also had
What was his name?
Lytton, Lytton, Rader, R-A-D-E-R.
And he was the
clerk
city
of
clerk?
city clerk.
City clerk.
And also had charge of the water.
So this
wells.
was probably in the what?
Well, he died in 51, so this would have been 30s and 40s. In fact, if you go down to the city building, and
We've done some stuff up the city.
all right, if you go down to the city building and go up on the slab level where the flagpoles and stuff are, all right, there'll be a plaque
Oh, okay.
on the wall about where the flags are, and Granddad's got a plaque there with his name on it, and a replica of his face, and I don't know whether
Oh,
it's
okay.
bronze or something
Well,
there.
probably have seen that, but didn't pay
But
attention, didn't realize who it was.
Yeah, well, that's all right.
It's your grandfather, yeah. I
That
didn't
was
know
my
what,
grandfather.
Well, didn't your parents or you donate some land to the
This was
city?
this is the land that Granddad always said he wanted to do something for the village. At the
Okay.
time, it was a village, not a city. And so after he died, different people came to grandmother and asked her if she'd sell it. And she said no, that Granddad had wanted that to go to some special need that they had. And so instead of, and a lot of people I know thought it was kind of a silly thing to do, but we wanted to do what he wanted done with it. So, and I can't think what year that would have been, but we contacted,
That was before the city building was built.
oh yes, oh yeah, because it was all bare back in there. There weren't any buildings at all. Oh, what was there Sucher, S-U-C-H-E-R, Bruce?
Bruce
That's the city manager now.
All right, well,
He
then
was
I
the
think
police
he,
chief
all
at
right,
that time.
okay, and I think he had a lot to do, because I know Mother and I went down to talk to him different times, and he was a real nice fella. And we said, well, Granddad wanted the land given to somebody that would use it for a purpose, or have some good use out of it. And they needed the space at that time to enlarge the police department, I think it was, and the city building itself. So that's how that happened to come about, yeah.
Okay.
Well, then,
No.
didn't you donate that along Maple Street on the west side?
On the west
Just
side is
recently.
part,
Just
that is,
recently.
oh, and the house, no, wait a minute, did they tear
Yes.
the house?
Yeah,
Yes.
they tore the house down.
Right
Well,
behind the filling
All right,
station.
Granddad built the house that was there behind the filling station. That's been years ago. Back, probably in the 40s yet. Now, that sticks in my mind because that was out of town when I was a kid.
Here.
Yeah, yeah.
East side of Maple
You
Street.
got it, yes,
Or
that was
west
out of
side.
town, and I remember that I was always interested in science things, and one year there was a big display of northern lights and shooting stars, meteors.
Yeah.
So we would go down, we always called it going down on the lots. And we'd go down on the lots and park, and oh my gosh, you talk about having a good view, because there were none of all these lights that you see
Yeah,
now
yeah.
at night, there weren't any of those.
Yeah.
And we had a real good view. And then a couple times we went down on the parking lot behind VE and watched the same kind of a thing, but that was years later.
Where'd you go to college?
Miami?
Miami? You went to Miami? Let me get this in here somewhere, but you graduated from Miami.
In 55.
Maybe I got something else here.
I had several of my cousins that went down to Miami, and that's what got us started down there.
Yeah. Do you remember what your salary was when you first went to work?
Oh my golly.
Faintly, close,
It was something like 5,000, was it?
5,000 a year?
Something like that, yeah.
So
Sounds about
that was, did you go, you went to work down there right after college, so about 1956 or something?
Right, and stayed till 85. I stayed about 30-some years.
Did you get a gold watch or anything? when
I
you-
should have.
Okay, you think you made about 5,000 a year?
Yeah.
That's just kind of interesting to,
Yeah, I have a
Right
little,
now, that'd be a drop in the bucket, wouldn't it?
yeah, I have a little
Gosh.
log about that long,
Yeah.
about that wide. But I think it was my great-grandfather's, he told about cutting wood, and he got
Oh
$1
my golly.
a
Oh,
cord.
yes, yes, yeah.
Now you pay 80 and $100 a
Easily,
cord.
yeah.
Was your dad in the service?
No, he had he got his draft notice from, Mr. Routson. What was his name?
Yeah, I've heard that name.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Oh, well, now there was a Nevin Routson that worked on, or lived on South Dixie, right across from what used to be the old parsonage.
Yeah,
And I don't know whether that was his dad, but anyway, Dad said, well, I can't be drafted. He said, I'm on war production work down at Frigidaire. And the department that he was in, they needed whatever he was doing to help with the war deal. Now, his brother, Kenneth, was drafted, and he was over in Germany for several years. And he knew nothing about medicine, but they put him in the medical department because he had night vision. And when they'd have to go out at night in the rescue vehicles, Uncle Kenny could drive without having any headlights on and miss trees and everything going back through the woods. So he got into the medical department that way.
This Orville Blue, he wasn't by any chance a veteran of any of the wars, was he? You know?
Oh golly. I don't think so. I don't think so. But he was such an interesting man.
1896, he would have been probably just about the right age for World War I, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
yeah.
And I can't think who would know more about him than what I do now.
Yeah.
But
Do
he
you,
was,
you remember when they built the dams? You remember
No, but I'll tell you, there's a good book called the Miami Conservancy District that tells you all about the dams.
Oh.
And when the flood came in 1913, John Henry Patterson was president of NCR, and they told John when he built NCR down where it is now, they said, John, that's the dumbest place to build a building or build a factory. He said, you wait, because one of these days we're going to have a flood. And so he had predicted a heavy flood like 1913, and they said, that's the craziest thing we ever heard. Well, he says, you wait and you'll see. And by golly, this came along, and NCR didn't get flooded at all. It was up on high enough ground that he didn't have any problem with the flood. Then the people said, well, John knew what he was talking about after all. And there's a book, Patterson hired Arthur E. Morgan, who was a construction for dams and that sort of thing. He worked in, I don't know, foreign countries and all over. And so Arthur E. Morgan consented that he would help with the construction of our Miami Conservancy District. And there's a book called the Miami Conservancy